Greetings and welcome to MicroTown. I'm KatherineOfSky, and first of all, huge thank you to the developer Snowy Ash Games for the key to play this game for you today. I'm really excited about it. This is a game in early access, and we're going to decide if it's tasty or not. So please keep in mind that I have played through the entire game before making this overview video so that I could kind of give you a really good idea of what it's about. Now, this is a sort of production chain, resource management kind of game, and it's adorable. It has tiny little people and tiny little houses, and it's built on a hex grid. And so as with some of these games, we need to get materials first, and so we build ourselves a lumberjack hut. And then our little people deliver all the little things. They run very cutely and are quite excited about the prospect of expanding their village. You can tell they're excited because they like the way they walk. They like sort of leap up and down in the air. It's great. And then we, of course, not only need lumber, but we need to convert that into planks with the next tech of getting a sawmill. So we place one of those down along with a few sawhorses so that the workers can process the logs individually. Now, there are a few kinds of patterns to the buildings in this game, and I'll kind of go through that as we get through and talk about the game a little bit more. It's kind of funny. They do run from place to place. It's very, very cute. Now, the other material that we need lots of is stone. Now, we don't need nearly as much stone as we need planks. Planks are going to become an interesting issue later on, so stay tuned for that. So after we get our mining, we then build a mason's hut so that the people can convert the stone bits into stone slabs. Now then, food. Concern number one for people. They're like, hey, we need to eat here. So building a farm is the next necessary item. You build the farm and then you allocate various tiles for the people to grow their crops on. Now you choose the crops on the tile themselves, and so that the workers can know what to plant there and how many tiles you want allocated to each crop. Of course, the next part is getting more housing. Need more peeps. We have to have our town growing so that we can get more workers. After that, I decided that we should explore something called the town square. And this is an item that gives happiness to our workers, which also translates, if you have enough happiness, every building gets a production bonus. So I decided to place that kind of in the middle of my village without quite understanding exactly how it worked, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I did notice as things were going on, I was like running out of planks quite severely. So I decided to place another lumberjack's hut along with another sawmill to hopefully increase the plank production. Because little did I know that later on we were going to be absolutely starved for planks. Quite a major frustration and process to get all that going. As the game was going along, I thought, we should probably add more farming fields. Now, the tutorial tells us to put 3 fields of each for 2 workers. However, I think that probably a better number for that is probably 5 or 6 fields that each farmer can tend. This was kind of based on what I found throughout the playthrough. I don't know if that number is correct, but have a go and figure it out on your own. See if you can come up with the optimal number. You can hire more workers at the buildings by pointing at the worker thing and clicking those X's and turning them into worker slots. Those are just to prevent too many people from coming. Now, one thing that I didn't understand in the beginning of the playthrough was that the farming tiles don't belong to the farm. They are a gathering area that seems to be shared with all the buildings in range, i.e., if you put 3 or 4 farms and then they have farming tiles within their radius, then they will they can pick farming crops from all of the tiles. They will sow the seeds, they will harvest the crops, and so Each farm, if you want to have it dedicated to one crop, you need to place them far from each other. And I did this later with some seedlings and flowers and herbs that I made later when we have the beehives and things like that. Now, one fun thing that presented itself as we were going on is research, and that is unlocked by completing various tasks that the game sets out for you, and that allows you to unlock different technologies. Now, you are allowed to pick whatever you want as long as it's within the research budget, of course. The end goal is making a monument, which we see costs 60 books. And you can kind of jump there, but you'll find that you actually need a lot of the other technologies in order to make the materials to actually construct the monument, which is kind of the final goal. It is in the upper right-hand corner. The monument construction is kind of the end of the game. But before you get there, you can unlock various other things. And I wanted to go through every single tech because I just wanted to see the volume of the game, the value, the whole, everything that's going on in the game, and see what it entails and what's there, because I kind of love it. It's really cute. So anyway, I was really keen to build all the buildings and find out what everything does. One of the things that I found out is that building roads, it is a time-consuming task for our people, but it gives them a 20% movement bonus as they walk along. So I decided to connect my various little outpost areas with the center of town and with the warehouses and granaries that were already placed there. The warehouses are the little towers with the brown roofs, and the granaries are the ones with the green roofs. And you can choose the different items to store there so that you can kind of manage the production and manage supply of everything that your villagers have access to. As my tech progressed, I was able to build a ranch, which enabled some pig farming, which I had no clue about the numbers. I still kind of would like to experiment with this and figure out what is the perfect size pig farm. It has one employee, I believe, and you just have pigs. After that, you can build we need the butcher and then the smokehouse. The butcher takes the pigs and makes them into, I think, pork meat, and then the smoker makes them into ham, and you have to build various drying racks for this. Again, this is before I kind of looked at the ratios of everything, just kind of guessing as to what was what. Now, soon enough, your lumber will run out, the trees will run out, and you're able to get arborists who will, in conjunction with foresters, will help you plant trees so that your poor little lumberjack huts don't have a little knock over their heads and like, no, why don't we have any trees? So that's an important consideration. You want to set that up as early as possible. You're going to need to have several plots for your arborists to grow saplings on. Those are then transferred to the forester, and the forester will plant them so that they can grow up into big trees, which the guys who cut the lumberjacks cut down. Keep in mind that you don't need many foresters. I found that one was generally sufficient for each lumberjack hut. It's and that seems to be working for that entire area. But if you find you need more, then add more, of course. But just gently look at the numbers and find out if something will work or not. At some point in the game, I felt I was absolutely starved for planks. In this section here, you see I have like, I don't know how many, 4 lumberjack huts, 3 or 4 of them. And they're all producing, having sawmills, everything, because I just completely ran out of planks and there wasn't enough material to go around. So early on in the game, you are definitely going to want a ton of lumberjacks, sawmills, and just arborists and foresters to replant what you're needing. Later on, the game slows down a bit, but you are going to need lots and lots of planks for all of the farming fields and all of the houses that you need to build. Now, we also see the market, which I've extended with actual market stalls. That is what creates the happiness. You have the flag saying, hello, here's the market, come and shop. But then you have to have the stalls to sell stuff. The number of stalls is listed at the bottom of the flag there, and you can see how many they want, which is 6. One of the essentials of our society here in MicroTown is, of course, the brewery and the tavern. So I converted one of my farms to growing barley, and you can see just to the east of the little green granaries, that's the brewery going up, ready to process that barley plus water into beer. And then I have reserved a space right across from the market square for the tavern, which they are building right there. It's a little orange roofed building, and you can see that there where the beer is distributed to customers. Having beer makes our population happier and they perform a little bit better. Now, unbeknownst to me, I really didn't need that many brewing vats. I should have had probably a couple of vats per brewery hut instead of having 5 or 6 for the one hut. So that was a mistake that I kind of rectified a little bit later in the playthrough. Another part of this game is one of the things that also increases happiness, which is the medicine that goes to the town through the healer. Now, the healer needs medicines made by the herbalist, and they get the materials then from the beekeepers and also from the gardens to get the herbs going. And then the gardeners also will need to plant seedlings, which go to florists, which make these beautiful gardens of flowers in order to feed the bees. So that is something that was a very, very complicated production chain, which was interesting to figure out. I was a little bit clueless, I admit. Initially, it was like, okay, how does this work? Because the bees, or the flowers, are not immediately transferred to the bees. The bees just sort of are in the area-ish of the flower fields. Later on, I expanded this quite a bit in order to supply our town with more and more medicine, just to keep them healthy and happy and carefree. I next chose clothing as the next industry that we wanted to work on. Again, something that would make our people happier and increase their productivity. This is a complicated production chain involving many buildings. We have the farm that is farming the flax, and then we have intermediate buildings before we actually get to the clothing. And those are the carding mills, and then we have the textile mills, which go into making the actual clothes for our villagers. And I started to really think about, like, how many buildings do we actually need for this process, and how many should we have for the ratio to make things and not have too many workers, idling without enough production. This was also where I discovered the thing where the farm didn't seem to want to harvest things properly. And I don't know if that's a bug or not. I mean, I am going to report that to the developer. And what it was is when they had potatoes in stock in the farm, they didn't seem to want to harvest the hemp. And then sometimes they did, like randomly, one thing or another. But I did click on the farm tiles and they were ready to be harvested because you can actually see the progress bars on the fields. So later on, I just completely converted this farm into a full hemp farm and then moved the potatoes elsewhere because I figured it would get better production. And I was right. They completely harvested all the fields. They were at work all the time and not having any villagers idle in the building. After clothing, bookbinding and research seemed a natural choice because you also rely on the hemp to make the book stuff. The production chain for that is that the hemp and water go to a pulp mill, which creates pulp, and that goes to a paper mill, which creates paper, which goes to the bookbinder. And that gives you books, which go to then scribes who inscribe the books with stuff and ends up in the library where the worker turns it into research points. And this is quite useful for us because it enables you to go in different places in the game. If you prioritize this research first, then it would allow you to kind of skip the quest things if you didn't want to do them, for example, and then just unlock future technologies if you wish to. Not that the quest things are very hard, and the rewards are certainly very, very generous for the amount of work that you have to do, but it's quite easy to kind of change things up if you wanted to do that. Now, I should also note that there is a sandbox mode. When you set up the game, you can either play as a sandbox and have all the research techs unlocked from the very beginning of the game, should you wish to do that. I really like that option. The developer is clearly giving us some different ways to play for every different play style that there is in the world. So that was kind of a nice choice to be able to have the bookbinding, the library, so you can get more research points whenever you wanted them. Now, I thought I would be very sneaky and unlock the monument as the next thing. I thought, I'll just do this and be a little bit lazy. And nope, not allowed to be lazy. As you can see, we need bricks and glass to get that monument going. So we had to unlock a few other things, mainly brickworks and glass making. And so I decided to kind of put that on the western edge of our land area and kind of spread out the industries along a road. And this is the part of the game where I really decided to try to make kind of exact numbers of little construction structures and various things like this so that my people would have sort of the best productivity available. One of the interesting things about the iron ore and the coal in these situations is that you put them on rocks. Those are kind of different from everything else. Sand needs to go on a sand area. Clay needs to be on a clay area. At least the harvesting little enclosures need to be there. But iron ore and coal can just be dug from the rock places. This gives us a lot of freedom into where we want to put our production and enabled me to kind of spread things out quite a bit. So that was a fun thing. I decided to keep them in discrete areas so we have singular production per building so that our little miner guys wouldn't get confused or like, oh no, we have plenty of the other thing. I'm not going to go and mine anything right now. No. So anyway, that's what I set up here as along with the brick making, the bricks firing kilns, and then glass making as well. I also later ended up adding tools to this area, and tools are quite an interesting addition to the game. They enable us to create tools that can be distributed to various buildings. You can disable the delivery of tools. I'm not quite sure how they're distributed. It might be random. It might be proximity. I have no idea. But the tools will get distributed and gives you a 30% speed bonus on a structure, which is really, really nice. So that's something that the developer is giving us, kind of a different bonus. I like that the different buildings have different functions and everything kind of does something a little bit different in the game. So that was one of the really fun things that I decided that I liked. Another thing was that I wasn't quite sure about, but I did set up bread baking. You need to set up a wheat farm as well as windmills, and then those process flour to go into the bakery. And of course, bread can be stored in the granaries for use by the citizens. Now, one thing that I did not know or figure out yet is this more efficient than simply growing tomatoes or potatoes? Do we get more bread per grain field? How does that work exactly? Is it worth the extra work, or is it simply just that the variety of foods makes people happy? And then, unexpectedly, sort of, the game ended. Objective complete. So we get a congratulations message from the developer, as well as a request to hear feedback, bug reports and suggestions either on Discord, Steam, or Twitter. And I can confirm that the dev actually is interested in these things. I had a few issues that I did report regarding storage stuff, and I had a message back within 5 minutes, and then the dev issued a hot fix within an hour. It was pretty amazing, so I was really excited to see that. And all I can say is very responsive developer. I really am looking forward to what the future brings for this title. So here is the town that I built from the tutorial. It is quite extensive. I really like it. And I'm going to give you the sort of verdict, I guess, even though this is not a review, more of an overview of this game. I think this game is amazingly tasty. It is absolutely delicious. I love watching the workers run around. I think there's a huge amount of variety in the game, and this game has so much potential. Now, having said that, I completed the game in about 2 hours, and I researched everything, I built everything, and I had a lot of fun doing so. I wasn't rushing, but it is in early access, so I'm assuming that there's going to be more content later. Now, that was a single game. If I were to play more, and I want to play more, I would kind of focus on working on ratios and figuring that out, or maybe just having kind of a natural looking settlement. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really have enjoyed playing the game and exploring things. And oh my gosh, see, I clearly have too many people. They're like standing around doing nothing, but we haven't been expanding for a bit. I've been letting the game run as I've been recording the video to kind of get some good footage for you. But already the game has so much variety, and I really can't wait to see what happens in the future. So check this game out on Steam. Also check out my guide on the different production buildings, which will be on my channel. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you next time.